Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Man Made of Thoughts, my comic reviews. And I'm back with another one of those comic reviews. My name is Quatez, and this is Spider Man Life Story number 4. Of course, the premise of this series is what if Spider Man was able to get older throughout the decades of all these major milestones in his actual career, instead of staying teenage to 28-year-old Peter Parker. He was able to, get older, experience life, get married, have kids, they grow up, all that other stuff. So this book follows. It might as well just be called like Web of Spider-Man or Peter Parker Spider-Man, like they were in the '90s, because this book is literally telling you the story of the Peter Parker behind the Spider-Man. Like it's a Spider-Man book, but it's really a Peter Parker book. And it's very good, by the way. You should go out and get this one. So this one picks up. We got 1995. We start off with Doc Ock doing some Doc Ock stuff. Look here, a little attention to detail. Mark Bagley is a main man right here with this. He's got the woman by her head. The way her body arches, her shoe actually flips in the same direction that it would if somebody was violently jerked. Very good. Very good work. So anyway, we get into New York City, and Tony Stark is doing that thing that all the crazy villains do in every single action movie. He's trying to orchestrate a takeover of Parker Industries, and he's trying to, tell them like, hey, look, if you buy me out, then we won't have any competition. If I buy you out, we won't have any competition. We won't have anything to worry about. And let's take a peek at their conversation here. At Stark International, we're pushing into communications now. Like you, so why be competitors? I'm here instead of my lawyers because I know you're a smart man. What do I have to do to make this happen? And Peter's like, stop making weapons. And you know that war is big business. Of course, Tony Stark, he went to Vietnam in the earlier issue, issue 1. And he found that war is something you can profiteer off of, and it's actually in real life. You can profiteer off of weapon manufacturing and guns and even embezzlement. What the Contras in the '80s, where we just supplied weapons to people to overthrow their governments. It's big business. It's big business. And anyway, Tony Stark goes, my weapons won the Russian war. They saved lives. My weapons keep peace across the world. You make cell phones and adhesives. You want to make me the villain here? Fine, I'll be the villain. And like I said, he does that same thing. But picture a world without Tony Stark. Would you still be alive? Would your kids? Do you just not care about their safety? Maybe you want me to trigger a hostile takeover so you no longer have the excuse of your company keeping you from them and your ex. Pretty much he hit them. He hit them with the, it'd be a shame if something was to happen to your beautiful wife and children. And so Peter is like, and like, as any man would if you threaten their family, Tony, you've undoubtedly helped America, but you also helped various regimes around the world with your guns and your missiles that fell into their hands. A real hero. And if you ever, again, insinuate that I wouldn't do anything to protect my children, I'll beat you so fast your bodyguard Iron Man will be looking at a job listing next week. I mean, personally, I would have told him, I'll make you eat your hand. Because I feel like that's something that Peter could do. He could turn his hand backwards and shove it down his throat. But anyway, we find out that Peter and Mary Jane, they're estranged, and that Peter's hooking up with someone. I don't know who this woman is, but, apparently it's his boo thing, his butt buddy. And I guess she gives it up to him fairly regularly because they call each other on the phone about it. So then we get introduced to this really cool Spider-Man suit. Breathe it in because that's really awesome. Okay, so we go back, and Harry, not Harry, but Dr. Ock He's come to New York, wreaking havoc, throwing stuff. All he's trying to do is really just get Spider-Man to come out. That's really all he wants to do. And like I said in my review, I've already reviewed this again, but I lost the audio. So this right here, he throws a bus at him, and he lands, but he hurts his ankle. But there's no mention of his ankle actually hurting anymore. He says like gonna pay for this later, as if like his ankle was snapped or something like that, but it didn't. He never mentioned anything like, oh, my back, oh, my ankle, just small inconsequential pieces of dialogue. And pretty much Doc Ock is just doing maximum damage. Like that game State of Emergency on PlayStation 2 back in 2000, it was like right after Grand Theft Auto 3. All you do is just cause damage to get people to riot. This is literally what he's doing. It's like a big temper tantrum. But then we find out, surprise, surprise, and I'm gonna, skip for copyrights. Oh no, Ben Reilly! Dun dun dun! So anyway, we find out that Peter Parker is actually the clone, and Ben Reilly is not the clone. He is the real Peter Parker, because that was really great in the 90s. I remember my first comic book was actually The Death of Ben Reilly. That was the first one I ever bought by myself. You want to talk about being scarred out of comics? That was scarring, because I only knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man from Spider-Man the cartoon. I'm 7 years old, and I go buy my first comic, and then he's getting trashed in the comic. Like, Norman Osborn was working this dude over. He was killing him. He even dies at the end, and then he fades away into smoke. I was so scarred off comics, I just stopped reading them for like years. But anyway, so Ben goes Richter. He starts like, tearing stuff up because he's like, you stole my life. You told me that I was the clone. Peter Parker was, and all that stuff. And then Harry dies. And Ben tries to like jump after, Doc Ock, and he gets saved. And then it's just more like hey Peter, how you doing, Peter? All right, Peter, I'm gonna go do something, Peter. All right, you Peter, you go do whatever you gotta do, Peter. I mean, it's literally how it is. I mean, like, and I know what they were trying to do. It was because one's the clone, the other one's the real one. So he's like, no, you're the real Peter. So here, Peter. And the other one's like, I've only known Ben Peter all my life, so I'm gonna be Peter, and you're gonna be Peter now too. So I mean, just look at it. But we can shift it to where it matters. So long, Peter. Take care, Peter. But anyway, then we find out that it was all just a trick. Surprise! Norman Osborn's being evil again. And then this is a heartbreaking ending that I really don't want to spoil, so I won't. But anyway, so Peter gets in the car and he goes and gets what he's always wanted. He goes to Portland in the middle of the woods to go be with his wife and his kids. The end. Like I said, there's something that Norman Osborn thing is really deep, and it's really heartbreaking because you've got a man who's always considered his son to be weak and a failure and all that stuff. And then, just what happens is just like, man, you really can't help but feel for him. I remember when I got my own apartment when I was 18 and I went to college. And all I wanted was for my dad to say, I'm proud of you. That was all I wanted. And I spent my whole time trying to get my dad's approval. Not because he was like absentee or anything. I just wanted him to see I can do this by myself. I can be on my own. When you're like the pastor's kid, because my dad was a preacher, you kind of only like measured through one lens. If you're not doing right, they're not really looking at you. But if you're doing wrong, all the eyes are on you anyway. And I just wanted him to say, well done, And then when I got it, I was so validated that I felt good. That was all I wanted. And then everything else that I did, I wanted him to say, you did good, when I got married. When I joined the army, when I got divorced, and then when I got remarried, you know, the birth of my second child. This is like all this stuff that I just wanted my dad to just say, "Good job, I'm proud of you." And sometimes I even look down at my phone still, and I still like, wait for a text like, "How's it going?" or anything. But those are those moments that you'll never get back. You never get those things where you get those lingering sentiments of, what if I was this? What if I was that? What if I had spoke more to my dad or anything? And that's what Norman Osborn was going through, except on the opposite end. Him being just a deadbeat dad. Well, not really deadbeat. He just had super high standards, and his son was not like him, so he just distanced himself from him. And then he consumed his life with trying to beat Spider-Man. Like, that was his whole life's goal. He couldn't even just look and see that his son was doing well. So he just was like, he's weak, and I'm not weak. But by him denying that like ultimate truth, he essentially was weak. He didn't even care about his son until that thing. But anyway, I'll let you guys experience it for yourself. It's very good. This comic is very good. Please go out and go buy it. Buy a third printing. Buy a second printing. Buy a fifth printing if they come out with one. Go get the whole graphic novel that they're coming out with. Teach it to your kids. Teach them humility and compassion and all that other stuff. You can use this thing. Spider-Man's a very human story. But anyway, if you like this video, like, comment, share, subscribe. If you have not subscribed, please do me a favor and hit that button. It would make me very, very proud. These comics aren't cheap, and it would make me feel like you guys actually appreciate what I do. And yep, if you are subscribed, make sure you hit the little bell icon. You'll get a notification of every video that comes up, because the schedule is Tuesdays and Fridays. Gives me a lot of time between comics, like every Wednesday, and I get to read and digest those things so I can make a video about it for you guys. But anyway, my name is Cortez, and peace.